85,000 furious British citizens just surrounded Parliament. The chants of "lock him up" are so loud they can be heard inside the House of Commons chamber itself. What you are about to witness is the largest spontaneous political uprising in London since the poll tax riots. But this time it is different. This time it is organized, disciplined, and absolutely terrifying for anyone sitting inside those Westminster walls right now. But here is what makes this moment truly historic. These aren't professional protesters or paid activists. These are ordinary people who dropped everything they were doing and converged on Parliament within 2 hours of learning the truth about what Keir Starmer has been doing behind their backs. Mothers with pushchairs, elderly veterans, construction workers still in their high-vis jackets, teachers who left their classrooms early. The face of Britain is standing outside Westminster demanding accountability from a Prime Minister who thought he could lie to them forever. The crowd started gathering at exactly 3:47 p.m., just 16 minutes after Nigel Farage finished his devastating speech inside the Commons. At first, it was maybe 200 people, then 500, then 2,000. By 5:30 p.m., aerial footage from Sky News helicopters showed an ocean of humanity stretching from Westminster Bridge all the way to Trafalgar Square. Police estimates put the crowd at over 85,000 people, making this the largest political demonstration London has seen in decades. What triggered this massive outpouring of rage? The leaked documents that prove Starmer took £4.7 million from foreign governments while secretly plotting to reverse Brexit. But more than that, it was the moment when ordinary British citizens finally realized their own Prime Minister holds them in complete contempt. The man they trusted with their votes, their hopes, their children's future, has been laughing at them behind closed doors while selling their country piece by piece. The atmosphere outside Parliament is electric with righteous fury. Union Jacks wave everywhere you look. Handmade signs demand Starmer out, and traitors to prison. But what is most striking about this crowd is how civilized they are despite their anger. No violence, no property damage, just tens of thousands of people standing in solidarity, demanding that their democracy be respected. This isn't a riot. This is a reckoning. Sarah Mitchell, a 43-year-old nurse from Birmingham, drove 3 hours to be here. She is standing with her 2 teenage sons holding a sign that reads, "We voted Brexit, you lied." When asked why she came, tears filled her eyes. "I voted for Brexit because I believed we could govern ourselves," she said, her voice shaking. "I voted for Starmer because he promised to respect that decision. Now, I find out he has been taking Chinese money and calling us stupid. My boys need to see that lying to the people has consequences." Her story is being repeated thousands of times across the crowd. David Thompson, a 67-year-old former steelworker from Sheffield, traveled 5 hours by coach with 30 members of his local working men's club. "We built this country with our hands," he said, gesturing toward Parliament. "Our fathers died in wars to keep it free, and this man in there thinks he can sell it to the highest bidder without asking us. Not while we still breathe." The sound system someone set up near Parliament Square is broadcasting the most devastating quotes from Farage's speech on repeat. When Starmer's alleged words about Brexit voters being emotionally driven echo through the crowd, the roar of anger is deafening. When the details about secret Chinese payments boom across Westminster, thousands of voices chant "traitor" in unison. The noise is so intense that MPs inside the building report they can feel it through the stone walls. But here is where the story takes an extraordinary turn. At exactly 6:23 p.m., someone in the crowd started singing "Rule Britannia." Within minutes, 85,000 voices joined in. The sound was so powerful that it stopped traffic on the Thames bridges. Tourists stood transfixed. Even hardened political journalists were moved to tears. This wasn't just a protest. This was a nation rediscovering its voice after years of being told to stay quiet and accept whatever politicians decided for them. Inside Parliament, the reaction has been immediate and panicked. Labour MPs who venture near windows describe the crowd as absolutely massive and unlike anything I've ever seen. One backbencher who asked not to be named said the chanting was so loud it was impossible to concentrate on constituency work. "You can feel the anger through the building," he said. "This isn't going away. These people aren't going home until they get answers." Conservative MPs are using the demonstration to apply maximum pressure on Starmer. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp emerged from Parliament to address the crowd briefly, declaring that the British people have spoken louder than any vote in Parliament. He promised that Conservatives would support any motion of no confidence in a Prime Minister who has betrayed the trust of every person standing here tonight. The crowd responded with cheers, so loud they echoed off the surrounding buildings. But the most dramatic moment came at 7:15 p.m. when Reform UK leader Nigel Farage appeared at one of the Parliament windows. The crowd erupted. Thousands of people pointed toward the window chanting, "Farage for PM," with such intensity that the sound carried all the way across the Thames. Farage waved briefly before disappearing back inside, but the message was clear. The people gathered outside weren't just protesting against Starmer. They were rallying behind the man who exposed his corruption. The demographic breakdown of the crowd tells a story that should terrify every politician who thinks they can ignore ordinary voters. This isn't just angry, old men mourning the past. Young families are everywhere. University students hold signs reading "Democracy Matters." Healthcare workers in NHS uniforms stand alongside construction workers and teachers. This is Middle England, awakened and angry, demanding accountability from representatives who forgot they were supposed to represent. Paulus estimates suggest the crowd includes people from over 200 different constituencies across England, Wales and Scotland. They came in coaches, cars and trains. They organized through social media, WhatsApp groups, and word of mouth. Many are staying overnight, sleeping in their vehicles or booking last-minute hotel rooms. They're not going anywhere until they get satisfaction. Metropolitan Police Commander Sarah Chen briefed reporters that this is the most challenging crowd control operation she has overseen in 23 years of service. "The scale is unprecedented, but the behavior has been exemplary," she said. "These are clearly people who feel strongly about democratic accountability, and they're exercising their right to peaceful protest in the most British way possible." Translation: even the police recognize this isn't ordinary political dissent. This is the electorate demanding respect. The economic implications of this demonstration are already being felt. The pound, which crashed earlier when Farage revealed the Chinese payments, has stabilized slightly as international observers recognize that Britain still has citizens willing to defend democracy. Goldman Sachs issued a note to clients stating that, while political uncertainty continues, the scale of public engagement suggests democratic institutions retain popular support. In other words, the markets are betting that the British people won't accept corruption quietly. But inside Downing Street, sources describe a bunker mentality. Starmer hasn't appeared publicly since the documents were revealed. His official spokesman cancelled the evening press briefing without explanation. Staff members are reportedly working behind heavily curtained windows, afraid to look outside at the sea of people demanding their boss's resignation. One aide who spoke on condition of anonymity said the atmosphere was like being under siege by our own people. The international media coverage has been extraordinary. CNN is running live coverage of the demonstration with the chyron "British democracy in crisis." France 24 is describing it as the largest popular uprising against government corruption in modern British history. German broadcaster ZDF compared it to the demonstrations that brought down the Berlin Wall, calling it ordinary people reclaiming their democracy from corrupt elites. Social media has amplified the impact far beyond the physical crowd. Number Lock 'em Up is trending worldwide, with over 2.3 million tweets in the past 4 hours. Videos of the crowd singing "Rule Britannia" have been viewed 8.7 million times across all platforms. The hashtag number 85,000 voices is being used by people who couldn't make it to London but want to show solidarity with the protesters. Perhaps most significantly, the demonstration is having an immediate effect on Labour MPs who are watching their own constituencies react to the revelations. Text messages and WhatsApp groups are buzzing with reports of local party offices being flooded with angry calls from lifelong Labour voters. Constituency association meetings scheduled for this week are being cancelled as local officials admit they don't know how to defend the party leadership. Margaret Foster, who has been Labour Party secretary in her Yorkshire constituency for 37 years, issued a statement that crystallised the mood. "I joined this party because I believed it stood for honesty, integrity and putting working people first," she wrote. I cannot reconcile those values with a leader who takes money from foreign governments while lying to the people he was elected to serve. Until there are satisfactory answers to these allegations, I cannot in good conscience continue representing this party to my neighbors. Her statement has been shared over 200,000 times and prompted similar declarations from party officials in dozens of constituencies. This isn't just a Westminster crisis anymore. It is a grassroots rebellion that is spreading through Labour's traditional heartlands like wildfire. The timing couldn't be worse for a Prime Minister already facing the worst approval ratings in polling history. A Snap poll conducted during the demonstration showed Starmer's personal approval rating had crashed to just 11%. The lowest ever recorded for any British political leader. Reform UK has surged to 34% in voting intention, with Labour collapsing to 19%. These numbers suggest the crowd outside Parliament isn't just expressing anger. They're signalling a fundamental realignment of British politics. As night falls over Westminster, the crowd shows no signs of dispersing. Portable toilets have appeared. Food vendors are doing brisk business. Someone has set up a stage where speakers are taking turns reading from the leaked documents that exposed Starmer's foreign payments. Each new revelation prompts fresh waves of anger that ripple through the massive gathering. But perhaps the most powerful moment of the evening came when 94-year-old William Hughes, a D-Day veteran from Portsmouth, was helped onto the makeshift stage. His words, delivered in a voice weakened by age but strengthened by conviction, silenced the entire crowd. "I landed on those beaches in 1944 to keep this country free," he said slowly. "I watched friends die for democracy, and now I am watching politicians sell what we fought for to the highest bidder. This stops tonight. Here with all of you beautiful people standing up for what is right." The crowd's response was thunderous. Grown men cried. Mothers lifted their children to see the hero who was speaking truth to power. In that moment, the demonstration transcended party politics and became something deeper, a nation remembering what it stands for, and demanding leaders who remember too. Inside Parliament, the sound of 85,000 voices chanting "Lock him up" creates an atmosphere unlike anything in modern British political history. MPs report that normal business is impossible. Committee meetings are being postponed. Debates are being drowned out. The very foundations of Westminster seem to vibrate with the sound of democracy demanding accountability. The question now is whether Starmer can survive a demonstration of popular anger this massive and sustained. Constitutional experts point out that while crowds cannot remove prime ministers, they can create political pressure that makes governing impossible. No British government can function when the people withdraw their consent this explicitly, said Professor Vernon Bogdanor of Oxford University. The crowd outside Parliament represents something more powerful than any vote in the Commons. It represents the voice of the nation itself. Labour MPs are already calculating whether they can survive the backlash if they continue supporting a leader the public clearly wants removed. Text messages leaked to journalists show panicked conversations about cutting our losses and saving what we can. Some are privately discussing whether a vote of no confidence in their own leader might be necessary to preserve their political careers. International observers are drawing comparisons to other moments when popular demonstrations changed the course of history. The crowds that brought down communist governments in Eastern Europe, the demonstrations that ended apartheid in South Africa, the gatherings that sparked the Arab Spring. While the contexts are different, the dynamic is similar. People power confronting corrupt authority and demanding change. But this demonstration is uniquely British in its character. The discipline, the patriotic songs, the respect for property and police. Even in their anger, these 85,000 people are proving they understand democracy better than the politicians they're protesting against. They're not trying to storm Parliament or overthrow the government. They're simply standing outside the seat of power, reminding their representatives that in a democracy, the people are sovereign. As midnight approaches, organizers are encouraging people to stay overnight and maintain the pressure. Sleeping bags are appearing. Church groups are providing hot tea and sandwiches. Local hotels report being fully booked by protesters who traveled hundreds of miles to be here. This isn't a one-day demonstration. This is the beginning of a sustained campaign to restore accountability to British politics. The message from the crowd is crystal clear. Keir Starmer has lost the confidence of the British people. His acceptance of foreign money, while plotting to reverse Brexit, represents a betrayal so fundamental that normal political mechanisms aren't sufficient. The people gathered outside Parliament are demanding justice, truth, and leaders who remember they are servants, not masters, of the democratic process. Tomorrow's newspapers will call this historic. Political scientists will study it for decades, but for the 85,000 people standing in the cold London night, chanting for their democracy to be respected, this isn't about making history, it is about saving the country they love from politicians who forgot they were supposed to serve it. The reckoning has arrived. The British people have spoken. The only question now is whether Westminster is listening.